You are exactly right. I love playing with Shoppy. He's still one of my good friends, and obviously we had a great relationship on the field. But yeah, I don't think there's many guys in the league out there right now that would have a problem playing with Deshaun Watson with his ability and obviously great athletic ability to make plays with his feet, but he still wants to make throws down the field. So a lot of those times where he gets outside the pocket and the play kind of breaks down, you kind of get into scramble drill mode. Instead of just, putting his eyes down and running with the football, he's wanting to make plays and throws down the field, and that's where a lot of big plays happen. So that's been a ton of fun.
Did you think in that draft that if you were picking the quarterbacks, it was Trubisky, Watson, and Patrick Mahomes, who would OD have taken first there?
Oh man, I think who the Texans have right now. I mean, you just can't go wrong with Deshaun's leadership ability. Obviously, his physical ability speaks for itself. But and I haven't been in the locker room with this guy. I've met him a couple times and had a real short conversation with him. But it seems like guys look to him as a leader, and as being as young as he is, and having that kind of impact on the team and guys around him. That says almost more than just his physical ability. So that's a great sign for this organization to have a guy like him. And I really believe that if they stay healthy, they continue to improve. They stay healthy offensively and defensively. That he's going to bring a championship here before his time's up.
Yeah, people are asking when are they going to get the next Owen Daniels at tight end with the Houston Texans? Do you see anybody on the roster? And I know we got some guys on IR too that can maybe step into the level that you were playing at back in the day?
Oh, man, the next OD, that's tough. But they do have some guys that could be better. I don't know. I mean, they have some guys that are bigger, very athletic guys, with Jordan Atkins and Darren Fells. Those guys have, at least as of late, as of the last game, they got a chance to get the ball in the hands a little bit more and make some more plays. So, they got a ton of weapons on offense. That's kind of the thing with football. There's one ball to go around. Hopkins is going to see a lot of touches, and Will Fuller makes big plays. Obviously, they had with Kenny Stills here and this pretty solid run game. That always helps the tight ends get involved. That was my experience when I was playing. We always had a really solid run game and get some looks off the play action and some keepers and stuff like that. That's when tight ends tend to get involved. And, knowing what Bill O'Brien likes to do with his offense, coming from New England, they like to use multiple tight ends and get those guys involved. So hopefully we can see more and more of it as the season goes along. It's exciting to see.
Bill O'Brien gets a lot of heat, Owen. Do you think he's the right guy to coach the Texans?
Well, a lot of head coaches in the league get a lot of heat. Let's see, how many years is this for him now? His first year, coach was 2014. This is his sixth season here. So I think they're just ready for him to take the next step. He did a fantastic job keeping those guys together last year when they started out 0-3 and were able to fight their way back into the playoffs. And that was a pretty unbelievable coaching job, from my perspective. And right now they're way ahead of the game from where they were last year. Sitting 2-1, you got a chance to be 3-1 and take a bigger lead in the division. It's a divisional game this week, so hey, that's just like the nature of the game here in Houston. Coach Kubiak had back-to-back playoff seasons. Taking a team that was taking an organization really that wasn't very good and turn them into winners, and then we had one bad season, and he got the boot. So that's kind of just the nature of the business in general, and especially down here in Texas.
Yeah, I mean, you spend your whole career with Gary. He's up in Minnesota now. That's a team that's trying to figure it out, at least offensively, certainly, and get Kirk Cousins to the next level. How do you think Gary's going to help the Vikings?
It looks like he's helping them out a bunch right now. I mean, they got a lot of playmakers up there on that team. They got some solid tight ends. They got a fantastic running back and a quarterback who reminds me of kind of like the intelligence and ability that Matt Schaub had. Matt threw for a bunch of yards, had a ton of success here. And Kirk Cousins kind of fits that mold. I was able to have a great conversation with Coach Kubiak over the summer. I played some golf with him, and he seems like he really enjoys his role up there as far as overseeing the offense and making sure they're running things the way he wants it to be run. But it's a fantastic fit up there for him and what he likes to do and the players that they have. So it's cool to see them doing their thing.
Yeah. What's your opinion on right now? Best team in the NFC, best team in the AFC?
Let's see here. AFC. I mean, it's hard to look past the Patriots right now as far as they're usually the benchmark. I think KC's right there with them. Let's see, NFC wise.
Packers, Cowboys.
I know the Bears are struggling right now a little bit on offense, but man, if they can get that offense clicking as the season goes along, that defense is fantastic. And as you know how it goes up there as the fall kind of turns into winter and the weather conditions get a little bit crappier, that defense is more and more and more important, and especially as you go into the playoffs. So if they get that offense a little bit more consistent there, they're going to be a problem as we go along.
You grew up a Bears fan, correct? I would assume living in Naperville, Illinois.
You know what?
Uh-oh.
I didn't. I wasn't necessarily a big Bears fan. I was a big Bengals fan.
Wow.
Back in the 80s, growing up, I remember 4 years old watching on TV. I remember the whole Super Bowl shuffle stuff. That was like right when I started kind of like getting into watching football, and I was like 3 or 4. And but the Bengals had really cool helmets. For a little kid like that, it was like, oh man, the stripes on their helmets is pretty awesome. And then they were pretty good in the 80s. So I was like a Bengals Bears guy. So I had my two teams from the two conferences, and I was good to go.
I love it. You want your son playing football someday?
Do I want my sons playing football? If they want to play football once they maybe get to high school, I'll consider it. Who knows what the game will be like, like 10, 12 years from now. But I'm going to have them involved in as many different sports as possible. Trying to get a golf club in their hand right now, I like to play golf myself, so to have an excuse to take them out on the golf course would be great. But I played, my siblings and I were busy with sports year round, playing, as one season went to the next, football to basketball to baseball, track and field, golf, whatever it was. So I think that's important for kids in general, just to be involved with more than just, specializing in one sport. Each sport helps out the next one is the way I've always thought. But I'm not opposed to them playing the game, but I don't need them putting on a helmet and doing tackle football when they're 10 years old like I was doing.
Interesting. And you were I know you were a center on your high school basketball team. You mentioned track and whatnot. A lot of parents out there, and they're like, hey, my kid's got to figure out what he wants to do. He's got to do it now. I want that scholarship. But it sounds like you're saying, hey, let him play everything. It's going to help him everywhere else, and eventually he'll sort of naturally appear which way, if they do have the talent, which way to go.
I think so, man. I think, you get focused on one sport, this young, you can try to get specialized in one thing, and it's easy to get burnt out. It's easier for guys to get injured that way, honestly, I think. For me growing up, it was, hey, we played football in the fall, summer and fall, and then, hey, we were refreshed and excited to go play basketball. And then we were refreshed and excited to go play baseball or do track. And then all of a sudden you were excited again to go play football. And each one of those sports, once you got to high school level, as far as the training involved, they each helped each other out. The short space movement, and agility in basketball definitely transitioned to playing football. The speed and explosiveness, needed for track and field. And I was a jumper and sprinter. That transitioned really well to the game of football, and so being involved with a lot of other stuff, you get, building more relationships and friendships that way. When it comes down to it, that's how I see my wife and I handling our kids as far as sports is concerned.
Did you have a lot of concussions from football?
I have a lot of concussions for football. You know what? I would probably say yes. I don't necessarily know, like, what is a concussion, Like, you have to be out cold on the field. That's one type of concussion. There's a lot of times where I would be blocking somebody or get tackled or, take a hit and like, wow, that really hurt a lot, but I'm not going to come out of the game type of thing. So,
yeah.
Luckily for me, I've been able to, get brain MRIs and, check my frontal lobe where all the executive functioning takes place. And, everything looks pretty good. So either I was taught good fundamentals or have a really, thick skull. So for right now, I'm 36 years old. I'm doing pretty well, and I'm all my functioning seems pretty good. But I'll continue to track that as the years go along.
OD, I appreciate the time here. I got two more for you. Number one, I know you love weather. What's going on with this climate, man? And are you going to do anything involved with that going forward? And I'm just curious, like, where that whole passion came from. Period.
Yeah, well, I guess growing up in Chicago, man, we see basically every type of weather except for hurricanes. And I was scared of the severe storms when I was really young, and then that kind of turned into an interest in how it works and why it happens. And I remember watching Tom Skilling, and he had thousands of maps that he puts up. I think he still does that on every little weather forecast he was doing, and that really piqued my interest. And then when I was deciding to go to school, Wisconsin has a great atmospheric and oceanic science program there, and that was one of the factors in deciding to go up there, was having that opportunity to study under those professors in that school. So, yeah, man, the climate is going to continue to change. It's not going exactly where we'd like it to go. So the weather will be a little bit more hectic and a little bit more extreme as far as hot and cold and dry days and wet seasons. And I guess it's exciting. You can look at it from that perspective, as if you're passionate about weather, that things are going to get a little bit crazier, or a lot of good stuff to study, I guess I should say. But there's stuff we can do, and I think there's people trying to make a difference and doing things to cool the planet off and settle things down a little bit. But seems like there's a lot of politics involved in that. So,
yeah.
But overall, weather on a day-to-day basis is kind of a fun thing to follow. And especially down here in Houston, we just got dumped on last week. We had some major flooding down here off that little tropical storm that we had. So that seems to be at least a once-a-year thing down here, that there's some major flooding. And that's just part of living in Houston.
You just did your best.
Just like living in Chicago, you're going to get some freezing cold days, and you get a crazy winter storm, and that's just kind of the way it goes.
Yeah, you just did your best to turn a negative into a positive there. It can be looked at as, well, we got action here in this field. There's some entertainment. Hey, let's wrap up.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Let's wrap up with Peyton Manning. You caught his last touchdown pass that he ever threw in the NFL, which is kind of amazing. I'd love to hear a Peyton story and maybe a memory from the Super Bowl, and just that whole experience had to be a pretty cool way to end an NFL career for you. Oh
man, storybook ending for sure. just having a chance to play in the AFC Championship game or a championship game in general, and then all